Yabba dabba doo! Hello, buddies. It's 23 degrees Celsius, 9:59 p.m. local time, Bengaluru, Wednesday, December 18th. Late night. The weather is chill, but it could drop to 19 degrees Celsius late night, man. And please, if you're in Bangalore, make sure your blankets are nearby. Yeah, today we have a podcast, episode number 48, nearing our goal of 50. Let me give you the agenda. We have a special new guest speaker from our book and writer club. So we'll be exploring his origin story and his favorite book, and then some fun activities. So I'm going to drop the chapters later on. You can feel free to skip. Go to any chapters. So without any further delay, let me start the podcast intro.
NWN YouTube.
Yep. Episode number 23 for books alone. And I like books more than movies. So I'm glad that I found another guest speaker, Mr. Shubo. He attended our book club event first, and then he came for a writer club event as well. So he's part of both the book club and writer club. So I'm happy to welcome him. Mr. Shubo, please take the stage and give us a short introduction to our audience.
Hi, MaddiE. Hi, everyone. I'm Shubo. I am originally from Calcutta, but I have spent the last 5 years in Europe. I wanted to say that because that is where I have discovered the current book that I'm reading. But before that, I would like to say that I'm a creative content writer, and writing has always been in my blood. It's my passion. And without reading, you cannot really write, no matter what people say. So, reading has come much, much before. My earliest favorite book was David Copperfield, Mark Twain's Huckleberry Finn, Tom Sawyer was my favorite, of course. And eventually, long afternoons alone at home, I started, delving into books, and books became my favorite friend since then. Yeah.
Cool. I since this intense journey in podcast, I'm discovering that the readers and writers cannot be separated. So, if you read a lot, then at certain point the readers explore writing and they become a writer as well. So, you are not an exception to that theory that I've formed. So, what are your favorite genres?
Oh God. Oh yeah. Like currently, I would say psychological fictions and memoirs. They what they call the autofiction means like the writer writes about them their own experiences along with the fiction. So it's a mix of both, which is very conversational when it comes to the reading part, where the writer is stopping the story in between and suddenly talking about their own thoughts in the middle. Like it's the story is not continuous; it is breaking, and you have a personal dialogue with the writer in that way. So that is now my current favorite genre. But apart from that, I of course like thrillers. I like romance novels also. So I am a very big romantic romantic era poetry is my favorite.
Okay.
And yeah, these are the things I write right now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I just jumped a question there. So, but then let's explore your origin story. So, people who come new on our podcast, so we usually ask them like, how did you discover particular topic? Like, so here, books and reading. So, when did you discover books, and when did you actually realize books are something so cool, and we can learn a lot from it, and also it takes you to different worlds. So, when was that exact timeline, and how long you been reading?
Right. I didn't jump. I can tell this exactly because I remember. Um, so what used to happen is that my parents, both my parents, were used to be away during the afternoons and also in the evenings. And I grew up with a nanny who used to take care of me. But what my parents and my grandparents left instead of their own presence was a trunk full of book and a bookcase full of books. So a bored child at that time, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have much of television at all. I mean, television was there, but it was not accessible for a 6 year old, 7 year old. So at that on those afternoons, I discovered books in the like as in like I started uh, like rubbing my fingers on their spines and taking them out one by one, smelling them old books. I didn't get new books till I was in class 3, class 4. But before that, the old books, if I fell in love with old books and the words that sounded so beautiful, reading one line after another, and the rhythm and the narrative, how they flow, well, I was totally mesmerized. And since then, I would say from like when I was 6 years old, I started reading. Yeah.
Okay. So how long? So it's been more than what do you say? You have
34 years, 34 years. I am now 40. So I have
okay.
been reading since 34, like for
Oh
34
my
years.
God, you should be. I mean, you are the longest reader I've ever met.
Oh, is
So,
it? Okay.
this is a curiosity question. How
Yeah.
many books have you read? A rough
Oh,
or approximate number?
oh my God. Okay, I will tell you one thing. Now that I calculate, on average, I read around 20 books per year.
Okay.
So, uh, of course, initially I didn't measure. I used to read, I would say, much more because, like, of the book size of the books are smaller. The average version of David Copperfield, Call of the Wild, and Heidi, Huckleberry Finn, I used to read a lot. So
Okay.
I would say, on average, if I like say 20, like six, 700 books I have read, I would say, yeah.
So cool. So, from your origin story, I had one. I wanted to know one thing. So you mentioned that there were television, but you were left with a trunk load of books and also. Let's play a what if game straight away. So what
Right.
if you were born in this era and like still that trunk load of books were there, but with all these mobile, tablet, and then desktop computers, uh, would you have still picked books?
I would say I would because when I put myself in this era, I see my son, and he's exactly like me. He's very curious. He picks books all day long.
Okay.
So I would say because I would explain why. It's not a boastful answer because books are something where you can use your imagination when you are reading something,
Hmm.
right? And that exercise itself is very nourishing for your heart and soul, because television, or not just television is now a high art, I would say, but like internet or games or anything else, it doesn't make you that fulfilled at the end of the, like if you read a book for 1 hour and instead you play a video game for 1 hour, you will feel that the former will give you more, like energy than the latter, that which will drain you. So yeah, I think I would have picked book because anyway, I love books.
Yeah, what do you say? You put it in the most beautiful words, comparing it to gaming. But I
Yeah,
cannot
no,
take this.
I had to because that is also like something which distracts us, right? Nowadays in mobile phones and everything else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let's jump into your favorite topic. You're gonna tell us about your favorite read. So, what is the book and what's it about?
Okay, so the book I've chosen is it's called "What Are You Going Through," and the title itself asks a very pivotal question in anyone's life: What are you going through? People can't express it very specifically. So this book is about delving into a very interesting story, and like I mentioned before, it's an autofiction. It's fictional and also a reflection of what is going on in the fiction. It is about two friends basically, and one friend is in the terminal stage of cancer, and she wants to do euthanasia. Everybody knows what euthanasia means, right? So basically she wants to commit suicide, and she
Mercy killing, right?
mercy killing, but self-aided euthanasia. It's not like she will get help. So it's in US, it's not legal there, and she asks her friend, the writer, our writer, to assist her in that way, in this process, and go with her in a remote resort, in a remote cottage somewhere in the outskirts, and be there for the last few days. So this is a very heavy, I would say, poignant and dark turn, but also surprisingly romantic, surprisingly beautiful. The evaluation is like the description, how they go through the journey, how they discover each other at the last moment. And they were college friends. Okay, so they were college friends. In between, they lost touch, and then she calls her up, the writer. And why does she call her up? Because in college, this writer of our Sigrid Nunez has debated that euthanasia should be legal. And somehow, when after so many years, after 30, 40 years, when her friend is in that stage, she remembered her. And so that's why she called her up. So it's very dark and romantic. And also, how I discovered the book was also very accidental. I was in Brussels at that time, Belgium, and it's a French-speaking city. And there were only one English book my son and I used to go, English bookstore. And I was browsing one day, and I got this book, and like random, I bought it. But when I started reading it in a pub, I remember I used to read in a pub. I was mesmerized. I was just engrossed into it. It's so beautifully narrated.
Okay, so it's more of a journey because of the setting. So, uh, what are all the characters in the story?
The characters were just two characters, like this writer and her friend, and nobody else is in between. And everybody is mentioned in third person, like the writer's past boyfriend is mentioned. He's a professor, and her friend's husband is mentioned, but they're all in the backdrop, in the shadow. And so the writer and the friend are the two main characters, and there is a cat, of course, as you can see in the like cover, and
Yeah.
his name is Boogers. So this cat is a house pet of the place they rented, and they like cat is also associated symbolically with life and death in many cultures. So I think it was strategically placed, and animals have a keen sense of passing, I would say, when the soul leaves the body. So I think that is why the writer mentions the cat here, and it is very, again, I would say three characters: the cat, Booger, the writer, and her friend. And the writer strategically doesn't mention the name of the friend or her name, by the way. So she has always referred to like my friend and me, and my friend and me throughout the book. Yeah. And she mentioned many writers, of course, including Kafka, Camus, uh, Nietzsche, the philosopher. Many people are mentioned, but they're all established writers and you know artists and poets. So yeah, two
The
characters, three
yeah.
characters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
those are all famous as well as my favorite writers.
Yes,
So
yes, yes, yes.
the first question you mentioned about narrative, right? So I generally ask how's the writing. So especially on narrative, did you say that there are parts of the book which are in third person and the main character's narrative is first person? Is it like there is a switching narrative?
Yeah, it is basically very switching because what the writer is doing here is she is first like starting to describe her journey with her friend, which is personal, where the conversational tone is much more personal. But then again, she um, starts reflecting it in a third person, the situation, the psyche behind it, and that is like a I would say a thesis paper. So when there is a like for instance, I'm talking with you now, and I'm
Hmm.
describing this podcast in a personal tone that I was in my room, like I was talking to MaddiE about books, and then suddenly I switch it in the next paragraph, where I start talking about in a very literary, scholarly way about what Kafka said about reading books, what Camus discovered that, and this and that. So there is a personal side happening and also a reflection of it. So it I would say the closest thing is that if you are in a classroom and you're seeing watching a movie, and the movie is being paused in between while the professor is explaining it to you in very profound manner, giving various examples of writers, and then she pauses again and resumes the movie. So this is how the book narrative changes. Yeah.
Oh, I love switching narratives.
Yeah, it is switching narrative, absolutely.
Okay, and coming back to the famous writers, so how has you actually gave a case study and example from the book itself. So I just want to elaborate some more elaboration on that. How does she bring these famous writers into her story, and how she uses their names in this book?
Because all these famous writers and the philosopher I mentioned, Nietzsche, they are obsessed with death. And this book is about coming close to death and experiencing life. So the reference point is that she, as a healthy person, and her friend, as an ailing person, they are living side by side, and she is witnessing the gradual, um, I would say, like, letting go. Like the friend has let go of her life, and it's not easy. So, in that context, like Camus, Beckett, Kafka, they had given various stories, various explanation about, um, like, the meaninglessness of life, why life actually doesn't have any kind of meaning and it's random. And so, on one side, there is pessimism, the nihilism that Nietzsche
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
like you mentioned, but also at the same time, it also shows, uh, if you're living your life, it's you're living for yourself because you want to. That's a very strong case which people often miss out. So if life is meaningless, why are we living? We are not fulfilling any higher purposes, but we are living for ourselves because we want to, because ultimately we love life. So this dichotomy is very, very strong here, because the book starts with the friend wanting to die, and then she chooses not to die, and then she eventually dies on her own due to the ailment. And that entire journey from not dying to, like, give not giving up and not committing the suicide is what these philosophers come in, the writers come into this spectrum. Yeah.
Okay. The question on like I did a lookup on this book, so I haven't read. So usually in Goodreads or in Google, like you have this log line about the book, right? So
Right, right,
and
right.
in genres, it was listed as humor and psychological fiction. So I can understand psychology from what I've heard so far. How does she bring humor? So is there humor in it, and was it like dark humor or a heart-warming humor? So how does she bring the humor in the story, and how good is the writing on that aspect?
um There is dark humor, of course, especially made by the friend, when she mentions that, there were, like, she mentions in passing that, everybody who has cancer is a hero and superhero when they beat cancer. So, when you read stories about cancer survivors, you treat them as superheroes. But she said in a negative way that those people who have survived cancer and have beaten cancer are dragging her down in a way, disappointing her because she wants to resign from life. She doesn't want to continue. So the humor is very subtle,
Hmm.
I would say, but like, heartwarming humors are also there. I would say one of the most hilarious part was, I will just give a brief of this story a bit, where they pack everything, right? They go on a mission. They are together, and the writer friend, agrees to go with her friend to this remote place in a cottage. They will visit, they land there, they enter the house, and suddenly the friend realizes that she has not brought the pills that will kill her. And imagine that all the arrangement that they made was for that ending, but how can she forget it? And this chaos itself was hilarious, because till then, as a reader, I was just holding my breath and being sad as a human that, oh my god, they're going to do it finally. And when it happened, when he suddenly realized that, oh my god, she has forgotten the pills, oh my god, it's so hilarious. So, like, the situation is so chaotic, and I would say so messy. It is funny in a way. Yeah, it is humorous. And also the cat Booger, that's the name. Booger means, you know what Booger means.
Yeah, I
So,
was.
like,
Yeah, continue,
yeah.
continue.
Yeah, so that is, those kind of humors are there when she look. Humor is something which denotes you are living, right? You are alive. So all this time the humor is coming back in the narrative, in the story. You are feeling relieved. It's a relief from the tension um, that the story brings. But it's not just humor, it's romance also, I mentioned, where one evening, one intense evening, they will both kiss each other. I remember I was reading it in a pub, and the writer writes, the writer is bi-curious, and she says, "Oh my God, and all this while we could have been lovers." And I was drinking beer while reading this, and I was so intoxicated with these lines. I read again and again and again and again. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So that is something.
Okay, okay. So, the role of cat. So I love animals, and especially in stories, when it's one of the supporting or lead characters. So, what role the cat plays here, and does the cat also travel with the main characters, or is it's just part of a story?
No, no, the cat is someone who is a house pet where they were living. So the cat doesn't travel. The cat doesn't bother about them, but the cat is a periodic, you rent an Airbnb sometimes, right? And when you rent an Airbnb, sometimes there are pets in there, and they keep coming, and so the cat needed to be fed. I think the cat's role is, since the writer, our writer who is writing,
Hmm.
was also feeding the friend. She was also making sure that her friend gets the food on time because she's ill. She was also feeding the cat. So for her, the balancing role was that the cat was a regular, less fussy eater who was coming and giving some kind of sense of normalcy in her life, and also was not showing any gratitude, and like cats do. It's a tabby, it's a gray tabby, that booger.
Okay.
And at the same time, her friend is so emotional, so chaotic, and not willing to eat. She's trying hard to make her live life, but yeah, I think that balance, the cat brings the balance in her day-to-day life in that remote house that they rented. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's more sounds like a symbolic element here.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely.
Yeah. So let's explore your writing side now. So as a reader, it's clear that you are fascinated with the story, and as a writer, you have been writing for a while, right? Similar to reading. So, what did you find impressive, and how good is the writing? Any outstanding aspect, or in terms of these famous writers that we talked about, like Nietzsche and Kafka? So they have done some what do you say, impeccable works, right? So this story also sounds similar. So how good is the writing for to pull off such a story?
Oh my God, this is like this is out the writing. So, you have to realize that when I started reading this book, I didn't know the writer, so I was very skeptical. So I haven't read any reviews of her. I just picked up a book because it was on discount. I just picked it up and I fell in love. And after that, I read all of her novels, almost. I have skipped two. uh, the writing itself, from the very beginning, it's poetic. Anyone who reads poetry, anyone who is into words and who understands the power of word, will get mesmerized, hypnotized immediately by this writer. Like, and how she brings in many other writers, like Renard Rimbaud, the French poet, and all the elements that she's bringing in, you will get hooked. It's like, again, it's like listening to a very eloquent, erudite professor who is hypnotizing you slowly into the realms of literature. So from the very beginning, the writing is so profound, so strong, and so, like, you cannot keep the book aside. Like many books I have picked up, many people have that, we do pick up a book, but it is so strenuous. The writing is might be good, but it was also difficult. But it was never that in this case, because I was ready to give up on this writer, like her friend was ready to give up on her life. So I was like, okay, let me see. It's in discount. I got it, whatever. I will just give it a try. And then, oh my God, I was like, totally absorbed into it, totally. Like a blotting paper, it soaked me. So writing is very strong, very poetic, I would say. Very poetic.
Okay, so do you have any quotes from the book?
Uh, shall I read, or do you
Yeah, yeah.
want me?
If you have it, please do read.
Yeah, of course. Just wait a minute. I will just. Okay. Memory. We need another word to describe the way we see past events that are still alive in us, thought Graham Greene. Graham Greene is another writer. Agreed. Agreeing here also with Kafka, and at the same time with Camus. The literal meaning of life is whatever you do that stops you from killing yourself. So, this is one of the most profound thing that I have discovered in this book. The literal meaning of life is whatever you do that stops you from killing yourself. Whatever doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Dying Christopher Hitchens asked himself how this bit of Nietzsche could ever have struck him as deep. Clearly, it wasn't true to his own experience, and it hadn't been true to Nietzsche either. It was having cancer that had brought about this rethinking, Hitchens said. How could I not now also recall the old graffiti? So there was an old graffiti that mentions in the walls of Cambridge, I guess, God is dead. Nietzsche said this, right? God is dead. Nietzsche,
Yeah,
comma.
yeah, yeah.
Nietzsche is dead. God. So this is again the humor. It's a college graffiti. Someone has written this. Later, anti-atheists could not resist replacing Nietzsche with Hitchens, because Christopher Hitchens also said that. Yeah, right. Recent obits, I. M. Perry, Agnes Varda, they are all. Agnes Varda is a very famous French movie director. Ricky J, Bibi Anderson, Doris Day. They are all dealt dealt with this subject of death, and thought not in order. I like that though not in order. I have heard of people who confess to regularly reading obituaries in the hope of seeing the name of someone they know. Reading obituaries is also said to be a source of comfort to many lonely people. So, as I told you, like this, the subject of death and how close death was to her at that time is where she brings in all these writers and artists and movie directors. So yeah, I think that is my favorite quote. Anything that stops you from killing yourself is worth living for. Yeah.
That's a actually it's a popular quote, I believe. I have heard it. Like I think
Yes,
they
yes.
have taken it from this book.
No, no,
Okay,
it is not her thing. It's like anything
okay,
who doesn't what doesn't kill you makes you stronger is very popular quote.
yeah.
But she also reverses it and makes it negative, and like anything that doesn't make you kill yourself
Hmm.
is worth living for. Yeah. So she takes killing yourself as like a most common thing to do. But why are we not doing it? Because we have our things going on. Maybe a podcast, maybe reading, maybe so many things we are do to keep ourselves alive. So that is a stronger part of this narrative, this book, I would say, because even though it talked about death so much, it never made me feel more alive than anything like this book.
Okay. Yeah, so time to take a breeze. It's going deep philosophical. So
Sure,
let's play a fun game.
sure,
So you watch movies.
right.
Obviously, you're well versed with the French directors and famous. So let's have like as per your. I hope this book is not made into a movie, right?
I don't think so, but I have just recently seen a trailer of a movie, The Room Next Door, which is kind of similar
Okay.
to what I have read, but I'm not sure whether it was this book which was made into a movie. No, I'm not. I don't think so.
Okay,
No.
okay. So as a fan of this book, whom would you like to see in the main roles if it were made into a movie? So first round we'll go for Hollywood or world famous actors, and then second round we'll go for Indian actors.
Oh God. Okay. Um, no, I will tell you. Uh, Definitely Kate Blanchett. She is a marvelous actor. Like I love her work. So Kate Blanchett as the either the friend or the writer. I have to think. I would give her to the friend because she can go deep. And who else? Let me think.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I am not well versed with this genre, so I cannot recommend you actors as well. I know, come on.
No, no, it's not about. Yeah, I think Kate Blanchett and I would give the writer to Meryl Streep, perhaps. Yeah, Meryl Streep. She
Oh,
will do justice, yeah, with the writer because she's warm also and also logical and yeah, Meryl Streep and Kate Blanchett will do, and the cat will be cat. Any good cat actor, yeah.
yeah, it will we'll keep the cat as it is. Okay. Meryl Streep as writer and Kate
Kate
Blanchett as
Blanchett,
friend.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
good selection. I trust your judgment. Okay, now moving on the second round. Indian actors.
Definitely, the writer will be Ratna Pathak Shah. Ratna Pathak, a marvelous actor. She would do justice.
Okay.
And who can be the friend? Who can be the friend of her age? I think I need help with that. I'm not a big Hollywood movie watcher. I think Shabana Azmi. Yeah, I got it. I got it.
The friend?
Yeah, the friend will be Shabana Azmi and the writer will be Ratna Pathak Shah. Marvelous. I would watch. Most people won't watch this movie. I would like watch it repeatedly if they both of them act together there. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Nice. Okay, let's return to the book now. Um,
Yeah.
it's a very, I would say, dark as well as critical topic. So, if someone were to pick this book, why should you pick this book, and what will you get from this book? So, if you were to sell this book, so what's your points?
I will offer a discount that lured me. No,
Oh,
yeah. So I would say that, like I said, like if you are feeling a bit doubtful about life, like you are feeling empty inside, you are looking for nourishment that will nourish your how would say like the conviction that you need to be alive. I think this book will be very helpful. But because you see, we don't talk about the dark topics, and especially this late in the night. People are, yeah, we don't talk about the dark topics, but they are always there in the corner of our minds. I'm not talking just about suicide, but also the fact that we often feel lost in life and imagine like what is going to happen to us in the long run. So I think this book will give you conviction and belief that life is worth living at the end of everything, and at the end of all the darkness, end of all the confessions and the uh, heart churning emotional journey. I think this book will finally give you that belief that life is actually worth living, like what Camus also did in a very twisted way. Samuel Beckett did, Kafka did. So yeah, this book also is that in that level, but written in the modern times.
okay, nice. Okay, so this is a multi-genre book. So from what I've heard is we have explored psychology, romance, and then humor, dark humor, as well as
Right.
philosophy. So which is your favorite genre in this book? So it's a mix of all these genre, right? So which is highlighted or dominant in this story, and which genre you loved in the writing?
I think more than the psychology, I will go with the philosophy of it, which attracted me towards this book because it echoes all the doubts or sentiments that I just mentioned before.
Okay.
Because uh, like the thought process behind why life is worth living, why life is so beautiful, and why we should seize every moment of what we have um, is very personalized in this philosophical thought. Like because we want to, because we love life, and we truly do. We might think that it's stressful, we might get stressed, we might get anxious about the future, but at this very moment, when you're sitting on a chair, when you are looking at a book or seeing eye to eye to a friend and having coffee, that moment is precious and that is why we should live. So, this philosophy is what my favorite part of it, I would say, yeah.
So was that also the dominant genre in the story, or
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Whenever she's switching off to that college professor mode, pausing the movie, right? The movie means like what I said,
the
pausing
narrative,
the
narrative?
like
Yeah.
narrative of the personal narrative, and she's going to the college professor mode. Yeah, philosophy was the main, like the strongest genre that she was talking about. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Uh, I am very absolutely interested in this book right now, especially the writing is sounds really impressive.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful is an understatement. It's very engrossing, I would say. You will get hooked into it because you like poetry. I know you personally, so I'm just telling you. Like since you like poetry, the way the words are formed and placed one after another, you will fall in love with that writing immediately.
Yeah, I don't know how it just happens. I feel especially the last or not even last, like from episode number one, book episode podcast. So all
Right.
the books I have encountered with the guest speakers in podcast are unique. So I'm a basically thriller freak, but again, see the last episode. I think Snikta brought up Blue Sisters. That story was
Right.
also unique, and
Right.
I
It
don't
is
know
a
how
unique
this
story.
happens.
Yeah, it is a unique story.
Yeah.
I think nowadays people are exploring more and not like bending genres. I mean, uh, bending genders also we are, bending genres also we are. So I think we don't have to stick to one genre. And like how life is, I think we are encompassing a very big area. I think that is what is happening because book readers have reduced significantly, and we also need enrichment and nourishment, as I said, in different ways. So, previously, when we were young, thrillers, comedy, though mythology is a very popular subject right now. There's a category wise, but there also the philosophy will be there. Even in a good mythology book, the philosophy will be there, the psychology will be there. So you cannot totally segregate in genre wise right now. I think so because when I read books, it is always a mixed bag of emotions and psychology, and the romance part is there and everything. So yeah, I think that is something I like about modern books, modern writers, because we are so limited in number when the readers are there. I think we are getting deeper than broader, I would say.
I definitely agree with you on this. Like you did mention that the number of readers have gone on. Also, it has become this age is like retention era. How long you can retain someone.
Right,
So
right, right, right.
in movies, it's about every minute you do something to make sure the audience is retained, whether in theaters or when you're watching in TV. So in books also, it has come down to this point where page turning thrillers
Yes,
and
yes, yes, yes. And
we
when you break the narrative, also it makes the reader alert and not doze off. So if like initially when like suppose Balzac or Gustave Flaubert, like Madame Bovary, it is written in a very monotonous precision. Like they knew, even I was reading Proust, so he writes in a very monotonous way, and they know. I was thinking how audacity they have, because they did right now, right? uh, People will get bored now. No one will be reading passages after passages describing a small town. No one will read that now. So since our attention span, like you said, the era of attention, like they have to break the narrative and make it, change it, so that the reader also gets used to the tone. Okay, it's not just about that. Okay, it's not just about that. So they will keep on coming back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've had experience of what do you say? Frankenstein being not a favorite or not so impressive. So
Yes, yes, yes.
I loved reading Frankenstein, but you brought up, right? So this era we have to have multiple genres mixed and then like
Right.
narrative switch. So the authors, the writers have to tire themselves out and break their head. What can we give to make sure they are retained, especially
Yeah.
in such kind of topics where it needs time to build the story. It's a very, as you said, critical topic, right? Death and dark mystery surrounding it, and what you feel and what others feel, especially telling through to a journey of a patient, being
Right.
a patient and willing to take that what is that medical term?
Uh,
Euthanasia. Yeah, yeah,
Euthanasia. Yes.
yeah. Cool. Yeah, this seems to be a promising read. I'm gonna put it on my wish list and try to read it soon. There's so many books. So our book club phrase was so many books, so little time.
Yeah,
Now
that
we
is so
change.
true.
Now we changed it to one last page in bookmarks. So it happens, right? So many books, and I'm glad that I found a great reader. So how was the experience of this podcast and this, especially on a live stream?
Oh God, I always like talking to you. As I told you in my first interview with you, also,
Yeah.
it is marvelous talking to someone who has the same wavelength and who listens to and also reciprocates at the same the same rhythm. So it's a very nourishing, very enriching experience. At the end of the day, it was a work day for me. So listen to the voice of my voice. I'm just so excited to talk about books and literature and writing so much. I really, really, really thoroughly enjoyed this book. Yeah. This
Okay.
book, I mean, this episode. Yes.
Yeah, I just realized, I'm so sorry. I forgot a few intro points. So, Shubo is already if you guys are following my channel, then he's already shown his face on interviews. So, quick interview in book club, and then in the poetry last meet, he has given a interview and experience. So he is there. Go watch him and come back here to listen. Yes, thank you so much, Shubo. I would like to end the episode with some more quotes from the book. Do you have any other impressive or like heart touching quotes from the book?
Sure. Just give me a moment. I will just. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just give me a moment. Yeah. Uh, uh, it is entirely very heart touching from the very beginning. It has, what she does, Sigrid Nunez is a very avid reader, and she's old, so she has been reading for a longer time. So she gives quotes from other authors also. So the part two, if you start from part two of the novel, it starts with a quote by Jules Renard, which says that death is not an artist. Death is not an artist. Imagine, because death doesn't create anything. So despite again the topic of death comes hovering around all the time here in this book. So I would say this is my it was heart touching because before that in part one we are so close to death, and then again she switches it off by saying that death is not an artist. It's the end of life and art by itself. That is I think very nice quote, I would say, though it's not written by her. It's Renard's quote, but I would say this quote to end: death is not an artist, live your life. I would say we would live your life and read this book, and you will find reasons to live your life.
Yes. What are you going through by Sigrid Nunez? It's available in Amazon or any popular bookstore. 224 pages. That's almost like a short story, guys. So, and we have multiple genres as Shubo was talking about. It's a very good, sounds like a very good book, and you are in for a very philosophical story with humor and a cat. Don't forget there's a
Yeah.
cat.
Their cat is there. The cat is definitely there.
Yeah, so don't miss it out. And we have to give a special hearty thanks to Shibo for appearing in our podcast, and hope you'll be returning with more such book because you have 700 plus reads, right?
Yeah. I have many other books which we can talk about, and I would love to return to your podcast and talk about that.
Yeah, thank you,
It would
thank
be
you.
my pleasure. It had been my pleasure, and it would be my pleasure to come back.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking time and lending your voice for MWM podcast. And yes, please don't miss out, guys. This book, What Are You Going Through? Uh, Beautiful book and a story. And I'm signing off with Shubo. I'll catch you in another live stream video or podcast. Until then, you're listening to MWM podcast. Bye bye.